Do you guys want to get tortured with the Grammys? Because I didn't watch it. I don't care to watch it. It's absolute filth, political rubbish, but it produces some clips and some highlights that make for good laughter. I can barely stand, and I say barely, I do not watch the Oscars anymore. And we used to have it as a family tradition. We would print up ballots, we would vote. We didn't really have a pot of money, but there was pride that went with getting the best score. And my father typically would always win, but only because he would pick the choices that, based on his research, critics were recommending as would be the suggested winners, and not because he genuinely believed it himself or wanted it to happen on his own. But it's gotten infected with politics, but not just politics, stupidity, virtue signaling, hypocrite a-holes living in their not even metaphoric ivory towers, living in their literal, heavily fortified, opulent ivory towers, pretending to be man and woman of the people, and saying the absolute dumbest things you can possibly imagine. And I didn't even know that the Grammys were on yesterday, because I don't care, until I saw the clips today. And I'm like, oh my goodness, it's not just that they're still doing it. They still take themselves seriously. They still think that they are the good guys in this battle. They don't appreciate the utter hypocrisy and the utter vapidity, if that's not a word, of their insane, siloed, and I say privileged in the literal sense that wealth is not saved for the privileged. It might be easier for the privileged to get. To the extent it's an opportunity available to everybody, it's not a privilege by the definition of the word. Being invited to these disgusting snobbery, virtue signaling events is literally a privilege. It's not open to everybody. It's based on status in the community. It is literally a privilege. These idiots, who are the most privileged people on earth, getting up there to spew the dumbest nonsense as though they are people of the masses who understand the concerns of the citizenry. It's hilarious. Here's Billie Eilish. Now, in fairness to Billie Eilish, from what I understand, she does give a lot to charity. That doesn't mean that she's not living in a multi-million-dollar mansion that is highly protected, probably with armed guards, at an event that has tickets to enter that is not available to everybody, and they don't want the rabble showing up to ruin their beautiful event. And she had this to say about ICE, and you just know it's going to be deeply thought out and thoroughly insightful.
No one is illegal on stolen land. And yeah, it's just really hard to know what to say and what to do right now. And I feel really hopeful in this room, and I feel like we just need to keep fighting and speaking up and protesting, and our voices really do matter, and the people matter. And
nobody.
Sorry.
She just said F-U-C-K ICE.
No one is illegal on stolen land.
Look at that. I'm not going to judge her because she's blonde and they have reputations of being dumb, or that she has, blonde, blue eyes, looks like a Barbie doll, and fits the paradigm of stupidity. I'm going to say that she's stupid because she's clapping like a barking seal at the dumbest statement possible. Nobody is illegal on stolen land. Let's flesh this out for a second. Nobody is illegal on stolen land, because you're going to the legal principle of you have to have acquired something in good faith in order to acquire ownership, even through the legal concept known as acquisitive prescription. Acquisitive prescription tends to go that if you've been in peaceable enjoyment of something for an extended period of time, regardless of how you got it and regardless of whether or not it was lawfully able to be transferred to you originally, if you have held on to a vehicle for 30 years, somebody does not get to say 30 years later plus a day, you stole that from me in 1972 and I want it back now. It's a legal concept called acquisitive prescription. And hold on, let's make sure acquisitive prescription. And most jurisdictions on earth respect this principle because for the stability of contracts, you can't have the interruption of ownership after extended periods of time based on something that is now beyond the point of being reasonably challenged. Acquisitive prescription, or use caption, is a legal mechanism often rooted in civil law, allowing a person to acquire ownership of property by maintaining continuous, peaceful, public, and adverse possession for a legally defined period. It acts as a method to formalize ownership based on long-term possession rather than title and deed. Now, it can be for both what we call movable and immovable property. There is no, as far as I recall, under Quebec law, there is no acquisitive prescription against the state. So if you go and occupy a plot of land in a public park for 30 years, you don't get to say, I have hereby acquired this plot of land. And the rationale, I guess, would be that the government can't maintain all of its property to know when something like that is happening. However, if you occupy a home, hypothetically, for 30, whatever the year is in the jurisdiction, that was private property, well, you can be deemed to have acquired it through acquisitive prescription, because if it was someone else's property and they cared about it, presumably they would not wait 30 years plus a day to challenge you on your ownership of that property. Nobody is illegal on stolen land would be to suggest that Billie Eilish, and I don't care that she gives a lot of money to charity, or she gave $11 million to climate crisis entities who are going to squander that money the way they always do. She's got a massive house. It's a very beautiful multi-million-dollar mansion. And if nobody's illegal on stolen land and her land is stolen, she doesn't own anything on stolen land. So she has to forfeit all of her wealth because she is on stolen land. She has built a house on stolen land. Too bad. Not yours anymore, Billy. And they sit there clapping because they are drunk on their own virtue. And there was one man who, this is where you're going to find something interesting, who didn't seem to be drunk on his own virtue. But then the question is going to be, you're going to look at this, you're going to listen to this, and you're going to say, what are his underlying political leanings? I need to know. Is he pro-Trump or is he anti-Trump? Because if he's pro-Trump, what he says here takes on a different meaning than if he's anti-Trump, as opposed to people just listening to the statement on its own. This is Jelly Roll. And if you don't know who Jelly Roll is, his music is great. I mean, I tend to like it. He's been on Rogan twice, and between the first and second time, he lost something like 250 pounds. I'll double check that as we're playing the clip. He's lost a tremendous amount of weight, life-changing weight. He's got a great voice, a great spirit, and he's a very religious man. He has seen the light, he has seen God, and he has had his connection to God. And he had this to say, which, depending on what you know of his underlying political beliefs, you can hear one way or the other, or just hear it.
I know they're going to try to kick me off here, so just let me try to get this out. First of all, Jesus, I hear you and I'm listening, Lord. I am listening, Lord. Second of all, I want to thank my beautiful wife. I would have never changed my life without you. I'd have ended up dead or in jail. I'd have killed myself if it wasn't for you and Jesus. I thank you for that. I thank you for my label, Broken Bow, Country Radio, baby. What's up, dog? Oh, Republic, John Manili, we did it, baby. There was a time in my life, y'all, that I was broken. That's why I wrote this album. I didn't think I had a chance, y'all. There was days that I thought the darkest things. I was a horrible human. There was a moment in my life that all I had was a Bible this big and a radio the same size and a 6x8 foot cell. And I believed that those two things could change my life. I believed that music had the power to change my life and God had the power to change my life. And I want to tell y'all right now, Jesus is for everybody. Jesus is not owned by one political party. Jesus is not owned by no music label. Jesus is Jesus, and anybody can have a relationship with him. I love you, Lord.
I find that to be particularly beautiful. And now I can't seem to, okay, bring it out. That's particularly beautiful. And you know, the reality is I didn't know what Jelly Roll's particular political leanings are. And I can understand someone saying, look at that. He's shouting out, he's criticizing Republicans. No political party owns Jesus. Others could say he's unifying. And others can say he's trying to appease the lefty crowd in his faith so that he doesn't get excommunicated. I don't know how you read the underlying intent, and nobody can know the true heart of man. Jelly Roll met Donald Trump at a UFC event back in the day, shook his hand, looked happy. Jelly Roll has consistently said he's neither Republican nor Democrat. And I guess when you see the higher power and truly and genuinely believe in the higher power, you are probably less prone to thinking teams among men when you have a team among God. But I think Jelly Roll is probably, generally speaking, maybe more conservative than not. It doesn't matter. That was a beautiful message, and that is more of what should be seen at these disgusting events. I'm not sure that I'd ever be caught dead there, even if I were to get an invitation. And if you have any reasons why you think I think that, hold on. Bieber underwear. Did you hear this? I believe Justin Bieber performed in his underwear. You want to talk about people who think that they are the gods, literally. I don't want to play this with audio because I'm going to post this on CommieTube and I don't want it to get copy striked. We don't need to hear the music anyhow. This is a man playing music in his underwear. Oh, there's a mirror on there too. That's nice. He's got to see himself in the mirror as well. I mean, it's idolatry. I got to show myself like I'm a god, look in the mirror and worship myself. And the music might be good. Got nice tattoos, got to show those to the world. I mean, what's the point of having a tattoo if you don't show it to the world all the time, every time? And I say this with a bit of sympathy towards Justin Bieber because I think he is a victim of that culture and has suffered obscenities that we can only imagine. And that's the recap of the Grammys.